everybody, so it's Britt from Wevolve, and I wanted to cover a topic briefly today, which is how to tell if your pet is sick with something serious or something minor. A few symptoms to watch out for. Now, there's obviously a really wide amount of illnesses, symptoms, issues, problems that could arise for your pet. So this is not going to be an extensive list that goes on and on and on. I'm going to give just some general insight into how to tell if something is more serious or less serious for your pet, whether you can handle it at home or whether you should take your pet to a vet. So this is kind of determining like the severity of what's going on with your pet. Of course, I want to advise you to use your better judgment, your intuition. You're with your pet, not somebody on the internet. So make sure to keep that in mind too, like trust your instinct on it and act on that instinct. That is true for anything in life. But this might help give you a guide so that you can understand a little bit about pet behavior and how to determine whether your pet like needs something, from a vet or a medical assistance immediately, or if it's something you can most likely like sit out at home and kind of watch and see what happens and give your pet that time to heal itself naturally. So an extremely sick pet, the kind that most likely needs some kind of medical intervention or assistance, is going to be a pet that is dragging itself on the floor, a pet that is extremely listless and lethargic. And what I mean by that is like lying there panting, out of breath, unable to move, unable to come to you, not very responsive. An animal that is like very seriously foaming at the mouth, an animal that is like vomiting extremely aggressively for really, really long periods of time, an animal that is hiding for really long periods of time, like literally won't come out, you can't get them out. Anything where the animal, obviously seizures, but anything where the animal is behaving in a very radical way or looks like very, very sick. If the animal is shaking and not just like a little bit cold or for a few minutes, but like this goes on and on for like over 12 hours without reprieve, and no amount of like warming them makes any bit of difference. This could be like a neurological issue. An animal that obviously has some kind of injury, has been hit by a car, has been attacked by another animal, but in a more serious way, like there's a really big wound, not just a little scratch, but clearly there's like a lot of blood loss, there's clearly like a broken bone, there's clearly some kind of like more serious issue with your pet. So those are the kind of general signs to look out for that show that there could be something like really quite serious wrong with your pet. Also like your pet's tongue hanging out of their mouth, them seeming like really not having a lot of energy, disorientation, seeming like drugged in some way. These could be signs that there's something more serious going on with your pet. Now, signs of sickness that are typically less serious, that are usually things you can deal with at home, and I will have other videos talking about and addressing most of these other things. I also have a complete at-home holistic pet course that I've designed for pet owners like you to understand and know and have access to videos on everything pretty much that could come up for your pet. So whether it's like a scorpion bite, or they get sprayed by a skunk, or they get attacked by another animal, or you bring home a new animal and they're jealous, or you have to get over the pain of losing a pet, or how to know if you need to give them euthanasia or if you can actually heal them naturally. Everything you need to know about navigating vet visits, all about infections, natural antibiotics, natural ways to treat your pet at home, all that stuff is in this course. So if you guys want to check out that course, you can literally look up any topic that you want in it and pretty much find the answer to it. So it's like the greatest toolkit for a pet owner so that you don't have the anxiety and stress of not knowing how to read your pet. And knowing the best course of action pretty much in any situation. So I have put that together for you. Check out the link in the description below if you want more information on that. But in a nutshell, signs that your animal is less seriously sick, and a lot of this is also covered in the pet course, are things like fasting. So a lot of people think like if your animal is not eating, that's a really big deal. That could just be that they're tired, they're healing something, they don't feel good. Fasting and sleeping is the time when our body repairs itself. When we're eating, our body is 80% energy focus on digestion and absorption of nutrients. It's in an action state, so it's not in a healing regeneration state. The same as if you're at the gym pumping weights, you're not building muscle and repairing that muscle while you're actually doing the workout. The workout is tearing down your muscle, and while you sleep, And while you're resting and in between your meals, your body uses the nutrients from those meals and that are available, the amino acids, to rebuild that tissue. But it does it when you're sleeping. That's why we're not always sore right after the gym. We feel tired, but it's the following morning when the body is doing that effort and actually took the time to repair and rebuild that we really feel that structure, right? That pain. So we really heal and restore when we are not eating and not digesting. It's a concept that's kind of opposite to what we really believe as humans. Now, animals have an innate instinct that is untarnished by current modern information in a way that humans don't. Most of us has been told that we need to eat to be strong, we need to eat 3 times a day, we need to build that muscle, whatever it is, right? But animals don't have that. They're not indoctrinated. Animals, they literally follow their intuition and their instinct. And the instinct of any sick person or animal, if we're not using our logical mind, is that appetite goes away and the body goes into repair mode. So they sleep more, they get more tired, they get a little bit more quiet, they withdraw, they're going to be maybe less affectionate. And avoiding food is the first sign that your animal is already on the process to healing. So it's not a sign there's something horribly wrong. Now, your animal could be having a seizure and not eating, and then yes, it's a more serious thing than if your animal is just acting normal but just not eating, or just being tired and not eating. Those are just signs that your animal is fighting something. It could be really minor. Like your animal might do that even if it just like sprains a toe by accident slipping off a tree, or even if it just like, has a gut bug, like maybe it ate something and it doesn't feel that great and it's giving its digestion and digestive system a chance to rebalance. Like the littlest things could make a pet not eat or skip a meal because its intuition, the pet's animal instinct, is telling it that something needs to be repaired. Animals don't have the same like binge eating disorders and emotional eating patterns that humans do typically. They really eat when they're hungry, and when their body's telling them not to eat because they need to repair something, they don't eat. So skipping meals, even a few meals, even several days of meals, is not actually a sign that there's something radically wrong with your pet. And this is kind of counter to what we learn in medicine or even veterinary medicine. But the truth is, like the innate natural truth is that animals can fast for quite prolonged periods of time and actually thrive in the process of doing that, similar to humans. I've personally done a 35-day water fast. I talk about that in my private platform, the We Evolve Tribe, about human health. But so if you want to learn more about me, my story, my health background, my practitioner background, all that stuff, why I do the work I do, you guys can check that out. But basically, in a nutshell, fasting, like I'm not a large person, and I fasted while very chronically ill for over 35 days on water without a single electrolyte or salt or anything, and I didn't die. I'm not saying I recommend that. I share more about my thoughts on fasting and how to do a proper, healthy and safe fast. But if animals don't eat for 2-3 days, they are not in any way at risk of dying. That's a fallacy and a misconception. An animal will never fast itself to the bone or to the point of death. It simply will not. We have an innate instinct, as all living beings on earth, not to do that. So don't be afraid of letting your animal fast. I've personally saved animals who were literally being put down in euthanasia, like not going to survive, so sick, like just discarded basically, by medicine, saying like there's really nothing we can do. And I've taken those pets in and just let them like sleep on my floor or on my bed or wherever they want to be, and let them be just sleeping and fasting completely, no food, no water, for as long as they need. And there's been almost a complete recovery in like less than a week for most of them, and sometimes even like 2 days. And then they come and they're hungry and they're ravenous, and their incurable stuff is like gone miraculously. Animals don't have our emotional issues, so healing is way more natural and way more quick for them, which is amazingly powerful. So anyways, not eating and fasting is not an emergency for your pets. Now, if your pet is really emaciated and refusing to eat, and they have like their tongue sticking out, or they have a tongue injury, or there's something related to the functioning of their mouth that makes them unable to eat even though they have an appetite, that's a different story. But I'm talking about just everything fine in the mouth and your pet is not eating. Other things that are not an emergency are actually infections. I know this is really surprising for people, and I have lots of videos in my pet course where I talk about this. Infections are your body healing and cleansing itself, for pets too. It's not a sign that we absolutely have to run and get antibiotics from a vet or from a doctor or from whatever else. Most of us, like an animal could have an infection, even what's considered a more serious infection like gingivitis or whatever, and we don't necessarily have to do much about it except let them fast, let them rest, give them good quality food and diet, which I talk about in the pet course, what a biologically adequate diet actually is for our pets, and commercial kibble is definitely not it, even though it's well intended to feed them that. I did that for years too. But really understanding pet nutrition and what that looks like is the same as understanding nutrition for yourself. It's the difference between looking and feeling amazing and having longevity, or being chronically sick and deficient and, you know, having a weak immune system and fighting infections all the time. So addressing the root of infections with our pets is what ultimately heals those infections. But in my at-home holistic pet course, I have an entire section where I share natural antibiotics and antimicrobials that you can use to like very quickly get rid of infections at home and save yourself the cost of a vet visit, the gut damage that comes from antibiotic use, and so many other things that could be problematic with pets. So generally speaking, that's kind of like in a nutshell, the things that are more serious and less serious for pets. But like mild changes in behavior is also something not to worry about for pets. Like if they just seem a little off for a few hours, they could just be having an off day. You know, like we assume that pets feel good all the time, but that's not true. Like, do you feel good all the time? I have off days. I have moments where I'm like feeling more tired, more lethargic. They're also sensitive to the environment. So like rainy days, if they had an injury, you might not notice outside, like they scratch themselves, or they're just overly tired that day, or they're just having indigestion. These things are all normal, like a one-off diarrhea, a one-off vomit, you know, a one-off behavioral pattern difference is typically not something that we need to consult a vet about. It's more chronic, continuous issues that just seem to be getting worse and worse. But the good news is, no matter what's happening for your pet, whether it's something more serious or something more minor, the pet's body can heal itself. And I share so many ways to support our animals in being the healthiest, most thriving versions of themselves in my course. So do check it out if you're interested. I'm telling you, it'll save you so much money on vet visits. You might never need to bring your pet to a vet again. And I say that with confidence, like unless there's an actual physical injury or accident that happens, like your pet will most likely not need a vet. And also it will be healthy. Like it'll not only save you money, but the stress, right? Like when our animals are sick, it's so heart-wrenching for us. Like I've had sick animals before I knew any of the stuff that I know now about keeping pets healthy. And it was so like challenging to go through those circumstances, like emergency vet visits and emergency surgeries and like really serious problems, and having no idea that what I was feeding them and kind of the water I was giving them and the way I was going about their health was just kind of like the opposite of what an animal actually needs to be healthy, even though I was well intended. So when I learned that stuff, I ended up having pets that are just literally healthy for life. It's like amazing. And it takes so much stress and burden away from me because I know they're just healthy all the time. And I know what to do if little things come up here and there. So anyways, I created this course for you guys. Please check it out. It will help so much. I'm sending you so much love. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one.